All right, guys. Well, welcome back to Between Sets with Frankie Seta. In my life, the music never really ends. It just pauses between sets, and that's where these stories really begin. So usually when you see me sitting here, I got somebody across me. It's a guest, a friend, somebody with a story, a little wisdom, pain, laughter. But hopefully we get to some truth in it, and it makes us all feel just like, a little less alone. This week, you just get little old me. And I got to be honest, I'm a little nervous, but I figured 8 weeks in, maybe it's time to just like slow it down and take a look back at the last 8 weeks and then kind of take a look at what I got planned for the moving forward with the show and just things I got going. To help me with the nervousness, I'm gonna hold a baseball. It just helps, guys. So I hope it's not too distracting. But I'm used to asking questions. I've learned to listen. These last 8 weeks, I've tried to become a better interviewer, letting someone, tell their story and letting it breathe. I guess that's become one of the greatest gifts of the show for me because, you really sit down with people, you stop rushing and you just listen and, you don't get, you probably could get a lot of great clips out of it, but it's not what it becomes. It's not like the perfect headline or caption. You realize just how much life is sitting behind everybody's eyes. Everybody's carrying something, some people carry it loudly, some people carry it quietly, and some people make jokes so nobody sees the weight. And I may or may not know somebody like that, but I guess that's part of why I started this, right? Between Sets. I thought originally I thought I was building a show about I was thinking music, Chicago roots, Italian American, the heart of it, the faith, family, friendship, real conversations. I just met so many awesome people and I felt like they deserved some light. And it is still all of that. And somewhere along the way, it's become even deeper for me, the music brought me here, but the music's brought me to so many different places. But when these conversations really, started showing up in my life, it felt more like a mission. And at this, I don't know, maybe it sounds a little dramatic, a little crazy, but guys, here we go. I already know I'm a little crazy, but not bad crazy, but crazy enough to believe that people still need like real conversations. I believe that I'm crazy enough to think that, music can soften a whole room. Crazy enough to believe faith really still matters, especially for our children. And I'm crazy enough to believe that, love, mercy, forgiveness, and family will never be outdated words and need to be talked about more. But you know what? You go to a nice Italian restaurant and you watch me. Sometimes you'll see me turn a night into a little philosophy class. If you catch me on the right night, I guess it's exactly why, some people should be should be a little nervous when I say, hey, I'll be right back for a minute. Things happen. And this last week, I had a beautiful thing happen. I'm sitting at Coletti's singing and I had to take a break, right? Like, cause I saw this family. And to be honest, I would go introduce myself and I end up talking to this 12-year-old boy. I found myself telling him these things I wish I would have absorbed when I was 12, right? It doesn't have to become hard just because the world can be hard to him, right? It's hard to explain, but I was watching him. It was pretty awesome. He was singing a lot of the songs I was singing. And I'm like, wow, 12 years old, you're singing that. He's rocking in his chair. He had braces. I had braces. I was like, this is cool, and the cycle continues on. But the truth is he's 12 and maybe he remembers the food more than me. And honestly, at Coletti's, couldn't blame them if that happens. But I know this, somebody has to say the things, right? It's not a curse to be different. Sometimes a soft heart, they want to say it's a weakness and it's not. Somebody just, I feel like, has to tell these kids and maybe even some of the grown-ups too, that there's another way to live because the rat race is real and it will teach you to run faster, to prove more. You want to post more, you want to argue more, got to get your point across. And, somehow at the end of all that, you'll still feel empty at the end of the day. And look, I am not saying I have it figured out because clearly I don't. I still argue with myself in the car like I'm hosting 2 podcasts sometimes, guys. At the same time, it is what it is. But I do think we were made for more than just, I guess, constantly running in circles. And that 9 to 5 idea and all that. And I get it, right? We have to support our families. But I think people are hungry for home. I think people are hungry for peace. I think people want a place where they could just sit down, take a breath, and honestly, not even have to perform for anybody, right? Just be yourself. And I think music has always done that for me. And talking to my guests, it's done it for a lot. It does it for a lot of us. What does music do? You know, in my crazy brain, it gets past the armor. It sneaks through the side door. It does what arguments cannot do. A good song could like walk into a room before the ego even knows what's happening. Okay, so like all of a sudden shoulders drop, the memories come back, the heart opens just for a little, and for a few minutes, everybody remembers they're human. And that's why I keep coming back to these old songs. That is why I keep thinking about the old school way of things. My grandma used to say to me, you know, a lot of you have heard me say this, be more Dean than Frank Sinatra. And I think I understand that more now, because cool was never not about caring, right? Cool was caring deeply and still not losing your rhythm. Carrying something heavy without throwing it on everyone else, on someone else or anyone else. And I'm still learning that. Trust me. Some days I get close to Dean, and some days I'm Sinatra arguing in traffic. But if you lived around here, you might argue in traffic a little bit too, but I'm working on it, you know. And then honestly, like once in a while, I'm like Elvis because I'm just hungry and I want a sandwich. But, you know, we'll leave that there. If this episode does go off the rails, unfortunately, we're going to have to blame me, but that's okay. Maybe I'll try to blame my headset or we'll figure it out. But really, guys, you're just going to get me. And I hope to just share where I'm at. I'm a little more quiet than I used to be, a little more humbled by what I've experienced. Good catch. Turn it. I'm still learning, still growing. And honestly, still carrying things that, I'm not going to name out loud. But also, I'm more grateful than I've been in a long, long time. Because what these first 8 weeks of this podcast reminded me of a lot, but really comes back to just something simple. We need each other. We need real stories. We need, these old songs. We need faith. We need family. Even when family's complicated, we need friends who stay, and we need love, real love. Because when you have love, it's the biggest gift in this world. So today, I want to talk about a few stories from these first 8 weeks, some entertainment stories, some life and family stories, some lessons from the guests who have sat down with me over the course of this time. Again, I'm trying to use this, and it's the truth. It humbles me. I'm still a little crazy. Still believe the world can use a little more peace than noise. This week, guys, you just get to sit with little old me. I'm gonna be drinking my coffee, I get a little water too, and hopefully we share a little light. So we're gonna get into it. Here we go. So like, where we want to start? Well, I guess the music, right? Let's start the music side of it, because before I even had a thought of doing this podcast, I sat in these rooms, restaurants, private parties, retirement centers, different parts of Chicago and Park Ridge that I've, grown up in. And somehow now I felt like all of that has brought me to this. But really, I guess if I'm being honest, a lot of this started during COVID. Like a lot of people, I was shut in. The world got quiet, and a lot of it's sometimes it's hard for me to talk about. We lost a lot of good people during that, and it pisses me off. And that's something I'm still working on, because that was rough. But you know what? The rooms did stop for a lot of us, and the handshakes, the music, all that, and I wasn't a part of it yet. I was just a customer who enjoyed it. But those tables got empty for the most part, and a lot of the people that I never thought I'd see scared were scared, and then people became lonely, and and really no. A lot of it was no choice of their own. And I think a lot of us started looking around our homes, our lives, our memories, and asking questions we were maybe too busy to ask before. And honestly, I was no different. I had to sit down with myself a little more than I was used to. Which, let me tell you, it's not always easy. I am a lot, even for myself. But it truthfully, in that quiet, I started reading more. I started reflecting more, praying more, trying to understand, what was God's purpose in all of this that I've gone through, And I remember reading the Bible at that time. It came across that you do not light a lamp just to cover it, right? And it's so simple, but it stayed with me. I was covering parts of myself that God never asked me to hide. Maybe there's a quirkiness to me. I got that old school heart, and the way I see people, maybe it's a little different. Maybe the way music moves through me, I got the Sammy Sosa hop, and I was hated for it in the beginning, guys, and now it's like, oh, that's Seta, and it's all part of the tapestry, the joy. But I still believe that those rooms can be softened, people can be reached. And I think sometimes I think no matter what, I feel like a little light you get through. You light that match in the darkest room, and some darkness has to go away, even with just one little match. So, the old songs, the vintage style, the Dean thing, the hat. I guess I'm a little strange little mix of Chicago, faith, sarcasm, heart, Dean, whatever else is going on up in here. But, some people found how to make sourdough bread during COVID. I found out maybe I was supposed to stop hiding myself and kind of embrace it. Truth is, once I stopped fighting that, things started to open, and not all at once, not like, some movie where the clouds parted and the spotlight just hit me. Although, to be fair, if a spotlight hits me, I'm probably going to use it, guys. But, I keep going back to that one room at a time, one song at a time, one table at a time. And it became kind of like my mantra, something. See, tomato. The truth is, I just started to realize something. I'm not the guy trying to bring the roof down. I never was. There's a lot of great entertainers and rock bands and singers, and God bless them all. And they do a great job at that. But I think I've always been more interested in like making the room lean in. And that is a different kind of thing. A lot of people can be loud. You could demand attention, right? Because you got that mic. You could be super loud. But to get the room to slow down a little, to get the room to soften, to get somebody to put their fork or phone down, for a second, because that song that I'm singing it hit a memory, right? That they weren't expecting. And I guess that's part of what I love. And that is the gift, and over these last 8 weeks, I've had a few moments that reminded me why I just never want to stop doing this. And, honestly, and I might say this a couple times because it's not to pat myself in the back. It's just the way God works. It's crazy, So one of them, I'm at Positive Pizza. It's Friday night, and that was different for me because it was not just a place to sing. And I don't know. It was literally the corner that I've spent so much time on growing up, since I was a little kid. And I do not know how to fully explain, unless you've lived long enough to kind of really, stand in a moment where you're like, you're an adult, but suddenly feel like the kid version of yourself is like, standing right next to you. That's the best way I could say how I felt, right? There I was, dressed in the vest. I'm singing these songs, and I'm trying to be cool, which should tell you I was already in trouble. But at the same time, in my mind, I could see this younger version of myself. So I got all these emotions going, and it was just beautiful, right? Like I had so many wonderful people show up that I love, and it's time to take my first break. And I stayed on a little extra, right? So for my first break, it ended up being like an hour and a half singing for the first set. And I'm like, man, I need and I got a bad habit. And you guys know that I vape. So I'm like, I'm going to go around a corner and vape. So I go around the corner and in the alley by the Starbucks, there's a homeless guy. Okay. And he's sitting there. And man, to be honest, I was tired, exhausted. I pulled out a fin and I sat down next to him. And I ended up spending like 4 songs, Connie Francis songs, with this guy. I didn't even use the washroom or anything like that because I had to get back. So I come back, and now as I'm walking back, who do I see? Angel, the voice, Carol Marchetti. So many people were there that just have been in my corner, meant so much to me. And I guess I come back to these things just a little wiser, a little softer, a little more grateful. I love all the old school stuff. I carry my parents, the kitchens, the block parties. You go open your family album, right? The heartbeats, the first dances. And honestly, the people who are not sitting at the table anymore, but somehow still feel close when that right song hits, you're like, ooh. And that's why I do not treat this music like background noise. I don't. And if you watch me, I hope you see that. These songs are little time machines, and I get to drive, and no ego here, but like I said, I'm the best driver I know. Other than my father, it's just the truth of the matter. You guys can have your opinions, that's okay. There's just these things. When I go back to Coletti's has its own kind of energy, Coletti's feels like one of those places where the food is good, the people are real. And then I'm singing, and I'm in a corner, and in the parking lot I hear, Frankie! And it's not like politely. It's not like, excuse me, Mr. Frank, wonderful performance. No. This is like parking lot love. It's like my Sicilian GPS went off, and I love it because it's everything Chicago right there. Not soft, not polished, not wrapped up in a bow. loud enough from a parking lot so you know it's real, but nothing but respect and love. And the people that were there, they enjoyed it. And that is where I think, the Chicago Alley Cat part of me, it comes in. There it is, I tried to hold it back towards to the end, but I got my notes here and I'm like, don't say Alley Cat. But the truth is, it's a part of who I am. And it's not everybody's thing, right? I know I'm not everybody's cup of espresso, and some people want more flashy. They want the jacket, or they want perfect. Some people, they're just looking for different things, and God bless them. But I know who I am, and I know who I'm not, and I know what I'm trying to bring back. This feeling, that old school thing, the wink across the room. It's beautiful. You just kind of lean into the note. Dean had a dramatic way of delaying, guys. It was magic. And sometimes you guys will sing with me and I'm a half a second behind you because I'm singing with Dean and in my head and it's magic. And again, just very appreciative stage in life. And hold on, I think I lost my headset here. So we're going to have to turn this off and switch this on. See, this is the part that you guys don't get to see. Oh, well, you're going to see this time because I'm not editing anything. We're just going to stick it. We'll call it human rhythm. Truth is, that's like what the shows are too. Because, hold on, let me get rid of this. All right, no worries. Yes, thank you for the heads up. We know we lost the headset. All right, guys, but we're back. And I probably should have moved this, but I couldn't see it when I had this on. All right, well, see, a little more raw. So, well, let's get back to where we were. I guess I was talking about the rooms and the feeling. And truthfully, there's like a spiritual discipline in that. Once you in the room get on that same channel, we'll call it a wavelength, everything changes. So let's try to get back on it because I lost my way there. But that's where the old school thing takes over. And I never want to be showy. It's not about chasing applause. Actually, if I open up and the applause is too loud for the first 3 or 4 songs, I make the Dean Martin joke about dust. Guys, hey, don't applaud. It raises dust and then we sneeze. And it's a good icebreaker too, because you know what? It's great to receive that. But at the same time, I want people to enjoy why they're there too. They came on a date with their loved one or, Ma's birthday or Grant, whatever. So the longer I'm doing this, I'm learning that room starts to trust you and then you start to trust the room back. And then when everybody relaxes, it actually is a gift of I'm going to call it a gift of chill. And that may sound funny, but I mean it. The gift of chill. There's singers who can honestly sing circles around me. And there are entertainers with bigger voices, bigger bands, bigger names. And I respect it. I really do. And I think that God gave me, at least when I'm in my right place inside myself, it's this ability to help the room exhale. And that's sacred to me, guys. So if you got to this part so far, I appreciate you because even listening, because I'm just sharing, look, I guess a soul check-in. Because people walk into these places carrying bills, grief, stress, personal problems, whether it be health scares, relationships, or regrets, hopes, whatever life threw at you this past week. For 2-3 hours, maybe they sit down, eat something good, hear an old song, smile at, somebody across the table. And we've talked about it before, just those old memories. And if I could just be part of that, even a small way, I don't take that lightly, And this is why I say that I always want to perform the same, whether it's 2 people or 2,000, because the number of the room is not the point, whether it's 2 people that really need that song or 200 people that need that song. If you're the one guy in a corner, he acts like he's not listening. And then suddenly, I see the foot, he starts tapping his foot, all of a sudden that guy becomes my favorite guy because, that's how the song got him before his pride was able to stop it, right? Like it got through. It sneaks in. Music doesn't ask permission. It goes right past the ego. It's past the argument like we talked about. And sometimes it's just enough so people don't put their armor up. And, all of a sudden, there you are, feeling something, remembering something, maybe healing from something. And even if you do not call it that then, sometimes you look back and you're like, oh wow, that was a real good night, and that could have been why. And I guess that's what these first 8 weeks have been a reminder of me interviewing everyone. Well, the entertainment is not separate from the mission. The songs are part of it, the laughter's part of it, these stories are part of it, these restaurants are just amazing. They're part of it. The parking lot yelling good, bad, that's become part of it. And it's all connected. All of it it's people's just sharing their connections. And it's my way of saying, I guess like, people say, I'm still here. You're still here too. Let's share a little joy together for a night. And maybe that is why I feel like I am becoming a better entertainer, even while I'm becoming quieter in my personal life. And that may sound backwards, but it makes sense to me. The quieter I get inside, the better I can hear the room. I feel like the less I need to prove, the more I could actually give as a person. And the other side of it is the more life humbles me, the more the honest the songs become. And that's the trade. And I guess, you know what? I'll take it. It's not an easy trade, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to just sing to people. I want to be passionate about it, even if it was just dinner, a song, a laugh, a parking lot, hey, Frankie, something to make someone smile and just remember. I guess that's enough. Actually, that's more than enough. Kenny Chesney said that's the good stuff. And that brings me to the people who sat across from me these last, 8 weeks. And I can't believe this is the ninth time I'm doing a recording. I want to say their names, my dad, Frank, Ron, Anthony, Vito, Andrea, Anthony again, Carol, Father Tony. Every one of them brought something different. And I'll be honest, before each episode, I thought I had some idea, where the conversation was going to go, but that was cue to me. Like most things I plan, I had my questions, my notes, everything was ready to go. My little professional podcast face. Well, a lot of people say you can't wear a hat inside. Yeah, well, it is what it is, because I'm going to be me. Before I sat across these people, man, these wonderful humans, they're people that have helped shape who I am in the last few years. The man, even how I understand work, discipline, family, showing up. It was just a reminder. It reminded me that this was never just going to be interviews, and it was going to be about like heritage and the things we carry, the things we hand down, the things we do not fully understand. And I've said it sometimes days, weeks, years later. And that makes me, honestly, I often think about my grandparents on both sides, the tables, the kitchens, the prayers that I was taught, sacrifices to help my parents, and just family stories that come out of it. And we all have that. And if I could be part of the, vessel to have people share it on here, I really take that as that's an honor. So, you grow up thinking you're your own man, right? Big time, and then one day you hear your grandfather, your grandmother, your father, your mother, all coming out of your own mouth. And you go, well, oof, look at that. The family meeting continues. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm grateful for it, because, if I am carrying anything good, it did not start with me. And to break it down with Ron, I felt, that weight of preservation, not just show business, not just entertainment, but actual preserving the rooms, the culture, the heritage, memories. And that was important. And I'm so appreciative that he shared that with me. And then, with Anthony, I was surprised as emotional I got. There were so many links that I didn't know at that level. And that also makes sense to why I felt connected to Anthony before we had that interview. That conversation just, I hope, reminded all of us, you don't reduce people to a headline, right? A label or one chapter. And I love that you can't fit some people, a lot of us, into a box. None of us should be. And now let's get to Vito. Vito, I felt responsibility. He is the Italian-American story, is not just nostalgia. It's not just a place for, Mastacholi with a song, although that's part of the bonus with it. It's service, it's scholarship, it's community. It's what Vito's doing. Keeping that door open for the next generation to know where they came from. And Ron's doing a great thing on that. And I can't wait to see the Harlem Avenue and oh my gosh, it's going to be great, the Hall of Fame. So anyway, and we'll keep moving. Who was Andrea? So like Andrea is special in my heart. When I think of Andrea, I get joyful. I think faith, family. You're going to hear those repeated terms. And just the kind of grace that, does not need to be announced. She doesn't need to announce herself ever. Some women walk into the room and you could just, you could tell they're light. And even though maybe life gave them a reason not to be, but they stay with me. Like those people, and it's not just women. There's some men that are that way too. People, and let's go back. Now we'll go to the next Anthony that I interviewed. And we want to talk about the service side, leadership, protection, St. Pat's. It was fun talking to him. It was great to see what a Catholic education is supposed to do, and how close he still is with the community and everything he's doing. And I respect that more and more as I get older, because the steady people, hold more together than I think they get credit for. And then there's Carol Marchetti. That one reached back and into my heart and soul. Carol's been connected to my life for a long time. If you guys watch that, and sitting across for her was so much more than an interview. It was one of those moments where, past and present, we were sitting at the same table, and a lot that we talked about, I'm still carrying. So again, these interviews have helped, part of it's helped me grow too. It's a gift. And let's get to Father Tony. Father Tony was next level for me. That conversation brought faith into the room in a way that felt honest, human, and needed. It reminded me, and I hope it reminded some others, that the Catholic Church, at its best, it's just a place people go to heal. It's a home for the wounded. It's a hospital for the soul. It's a place where mercy is not an idea. It's lived, and that matters to me. And gets a bad rap, and rightfully so on some things, but I think there's a lot of good there too. Talking to him helped me understand my wrestling with anger, prayer, surrender, and looking in that mirror when I needed that one. Not every conversation is supposed to flatter you. Some conversations are supposed to sharpen you, and sometimes that could be annoying, but also usually necessary. And somewhere in all of this, my mom, Lynn, is there through it all. She's not separate from this. She's not separate from this show. She's woven into it. She's a part of why I care so much about people that are hurting. Part of why I noticed that the person trying to smile through something. Because when you lose someone in the way that changes your life, you either become numb, or you become awake to the pain around you. And sometimes it's a little bit of both. Truthfully, that when you can be empathetic to the people around you, I think that's where the gift is. I've also learned in these last 8 weeks, I'm far from, I'm not perfect, not polished, but I'm awake, awake to the roots, awake to the stories, awake to the people God keeps placing at my table. And honestly, what I expect to bring is kind of more of the same. And I think that's beautiful in itself, more of these conversations, more real people that are going through things, and faith and family and friendship and Chicago roots and the connections, I don't want to name drop or anything like that, but we have some more great guests that are, they're going to come and be interviewed. And I hate saying interviewed, but have a conversation. And it is an interview because we want to learn about the guest. And I think that it's important. It's not going to be flashy, but I hope it stays true, stays honest, and in a place that's not noisy, right? And I keep thinking I'm going to do this just one guest at a time, one story at a time, one little light at a time. And if that sounds simple, good. Some of the best things in life are simple, my friends. We talk about it. It's like give me a table, give me a song, give me the rosary with a good group of ladies. I don't know, a friend who stayed. I love the stories we've shared. I love the Chicago roots. I think you guys know that. Because underneath all of it, there is something that's deeper, Because if this only becomes attention, then I think I missed it. We missed it. If it only becomes about like views or applause, bookings, or people saying nice things online, then you got your 5 minutes of fame. Then what, right? What does that light actually do? What is the question I keep coming back to? And when I think about the line from the Bible that, I was talking about earlier, not lighting a lamp just to cover it up, I do not hear it as go make everything about yourself, right? Like that's, thank God, right? That's not what it's about. If God gives you a little light, use it. Use it to help somebody see. Use it to make a room a little less dark. Use it to point someone home. And that's why I'm going to be starting Lynn's Lighthouse for Families. It's coming. My mom's name was Lynn, and that name is not just a name to me. It means love, loss, memory, mission. When you lose your mother the way I did it, it changes you. You don't see silence the same either, right? You not look at someone smiling through something and assume they're fine, right? You push through that. At least I don't. I do not see that just as that anymore. So when I talk about Lynn's Lighthouse, what am I talking about? I'm not talking about some little nice idea that's looking good on paper, although it does, right? I'm talking about something that has been sitting in my heart for a long, long time. Something, I've felt called to build a mission, slowly, carefully, honestly. And it's taken a lot longer than I've wanted it to, but sometimes delay is not failure. Sometimes God has to work the person carrying the mission before the mission can be carried the right way, right? which again could be inconvenient, but it's usually accurate. The heart of it is simple though. It's to help people find a little light when life gets dark. Families, children, people grieving, police families, people who feel forgotten, people who need food, people who need shelter, animals who need care, the ones that the world can kind of like walk past when it's too busy running, right? And the phrase that stays with me is so no one goes hungry. And I don't mean food, although I definitely mean food too. I mean, like, nobody should starve for love. Nobody should starve for someone to notice them. I'm gonna have a drink of water. I guess that's the lighthouse idea, right? Lighthouse doesn't remove the storm. It doesn't pretend the water's calm. And I'm not somebody that does. It just stands there and says, this way, keep coming. You are not lost forever. And I think even between sets is part of how I've gotten to this, and not because the podcast is the charity, because it's not, but this show, it's part of the road. It's the reminder. It's the voice, a place where, this mission keeps breathing. And I know how it sounds, right? Like, let's talk about it. Like Dean Martin, Catholic, Italian restaurants, old songs, family wounds, animals, homeless people, lighthouses, and changing the world one conversation at a time. That's a lot, even for me, right? But maybe it's all connected, You go back to the same stuff, the song, the table, the family, the church, the person outside Starbucks, the kid who needed encouragement, the animal who needs care, the mother I still miss. The light we're not supposed to cover. That is what I'm trying to build. It's not going to be some empire. I guess I'm just trying to make the table a little bigger table, one where people can come as they are, breathe for a second, remember they still matter, and maybe leave a little stronger than they came in. And that's what comes next. Again, more of the same. And it really is beautiful in itself. But for now, it's just one step, one guest, one family, one song, one act of kindness or mercy at a time, one little light at a time. That's going to be the continued road. And I'm very grateful to be walking it. So as I start to bring this home, I guess this episode really is the state of the soul, of my soul. 8 weeks in, not perfect, not polished, not completely figured out, but honest. And honest is enough. I think a lot of us spend too much of our lives waiting until we're like the perfect version of ourselves before we do anything useful. We wait until we're healed enough, ready enough, strong enough, holy enough, organized enough. And if you're me, until the lighting is right and the hat's right, but you know what? Life's not always perfect. And God does not only use perfect people, and love does not usually show up when the house is spotless. Sometimes love shows up in the middle of a mess. Sometimes purpose shows up while you're still confused. Sometimes that next step comes before you see the whole map. And maybe that is the advice I would give somebody watching right now. Do not wait until your whole life makes sense to take the next good step, Just take the next good step. Slow down, tell the truth, make the phone call, say that prayer, forgive, ask for forgiveness. If you could feed someone, do it. Check on somebody, and stop covering the part of you that God may be trying to use. And please do not confuse being wounded with being useless, because that one matters, and that might matter most, because pain will lie to you. Pain can tell you that because something hurt you, you're now only that hurt, right? But you're not only that hurt. You're also the healing in that hurt, right? You're the lesson in that hurt, and you're the love that survived. So, You're that little light. And I know that sounds simple again, but simple things are usually the ones we spend our whole lives learning. And my dad, slow down. Don't waste time. Do not let shame become your home. Do not let anger drive your car, right? And again, but it's true. Anger can, let it ride along for a minute, but, hey, no mas. So that's how you end up on a ditch on Cumberland Avenue. I'm still learning myself. I've had those moments where you feel like, you got to fix everything. I got to prove my heart, prove my intentions, defend myself, defend everything. But sometimes the more you try to prove your heart, the further you get from peace. Sometimes the stronger thing is to slow down and let God know the whole story. Because he already does, right? He does. And sometimes that has its own peace, in it. And you. Not everybody will see the full road. Not everybody will know what you've carried, what you've prayed through, what you've regretted, what you've learned, or what it cost for you to keep smiling, right? But God knows. And if you can And if you can find rest there, even just a little, you start getting some of your soul back. And that's not weakness. That's freedom. And I think that is what these first 8 weeks have been teaching me through the music, the conversations, my dad, my stepmom, wonderful lady, my children, the guests, my mom's memory. There's so much. And talking to the 12-year-old boy at Coletti's, and these lessons keep coming, and it keeps coming back to the do not cover the light, but also do not make the light about yourself. There's like that balance, right? And that's, the part I'm still learning. The light's not there to say, look at me. The light's there to help someone see, right? To help someone find that door, to help someone feel safe enough to take another step, to help someone remember they're not lost forever, right? And maybe that is what we are, I said it last episode, really looking for. Home. And not just the place, you grew up. Not just that kitchen or whatever, but home in that deeper way, a place where your soul can finally stop running, a place where, there's no performance needed, right? A place where love does not feel like something you have to earn to get, right? It's a place where mercy meets you at the door and says, come in, you're tired? I'll sit with you. And I think we all long to get back to that, some of us try to find it. I guess we try to find it in its success but it's so noisy out there. Some of us try to find it in being right. I've been guilty of that. Some of us try to find it in staying busy enough that we don't have to feel what we're missing. And then one day an old song comes on, or somebody says your name the way family used to say it, Are you walking to a church when you don't even have the perfect words or anything, but you just pray, or you listen to someone a little extra for a day? And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for home, and I guess Between Sets is really becoming just another road back home, right? Back to the stories, back to the songs, to faith, family, back to the light God never wants us to hide. And I'm learning. This hopefully becomes a place where we all could just breathe. And I'm really excited to keep bringing more people on that just could share their stories. And I hope people get the courage to tell, the kid that needs to hear something, just say it, positive things. Lift your neighbor up. Don't flick the guy off next to you in the car, even though he probably deserves it. And these little things, maybe we start making a difference, I hope we do. But anyway, guys, more the same from me. The quirkiness, the old heart, the humor. And we're just gonna keep it the same. I'm just grateful, and I think you guys know that, and I hope you could see that. And if you've been out to my shows, if you've been there to support me, thank you. If the podcast is something that's helped you, share it. If there's anything I can do to be a part of something to help, let me know. And for my grandma, I'm still trying to be more Dean than Sinatra. Although Sinatra was a great man too. There's a lot of wonderful stories about him. I'm not ripping on him. I'm just, comparing, I guess, throughout their career. So let me pull out the calendar and let you guys know where I'm at this week. Tuesday's home, Chicago Prime. Tomorrow, very excited for that. 6 to 9, Sorelli's Wednesday, Glenview, which would put me July 2nd at Coletti's 6 to 9. Friday, I took that day off. We're going to do fireworks and spend time with the kids. And then Saturday, I got a real exciting event where I'm doing singing for the event, DJing for the event, but it's 5 hours. It's up in Long Grove, private event, 4th of July party. And then the 5th, I'm doing a birthday party, and I'm looking forward to that too. So I hope you guys have a very, very blessed week. And I guess we're going to leave you with something real simple. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Stay blessed, guys. And if you made it through all of this, thank you.